Coming to you live from the Sound System Studios, Dallas, Texas.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I don't care if I never get...
Holy cow!
Baby water!
You are now listening to On Deck with your host, Josh Smith.
Three, two, one. Okay, I know it's been a long time, but I'm back. It is On Deck. I am your host, Josh Smith, in case you have forgotten exactly what this was called and who I am. But we have a lot to talk about today. I'm so excited. Big show. Biggest we've had because guess what? I've taken so much time off prepping for my new job, getting used to everything, running the board, getting reporting ready. Yes, I will be the new reporter of TCU this year. TCU. Yeah, you know they're ranked number 2 now. We'll get into the latest college football polls here coming up for too long into this show. Also, Cowboys, I'll be reporting for them. The Rangers, the Mavs, the Stars, you name it. I'll be reporting for them down here. I can't wait. So, hey, biggest show ever. Let's break it down. Most dramatic sporting events that's happened over the past few weeks. The NBA Finals. Yes, we got to go back, baby. We got to go back and talk about the Finals and all that has happened in the NBA since I have left you guys. The U.S. and British Open. Jordan Spieth on a horrendously crazy run. I say horrendous in a good way. Who called the Finals and the U.S. Open winner? Yeah, that was me. Go back and listen to those last shows. I did that. Yeah. NBA Draft. Who's a lock? Any bust? Of course, we'll talk about the hidden jewels. And, of course, anybody know what's really talking about? Tom Brady spent 10 hours on a courtroom for nothing. I feel bad for that guy. Peyton, well, maybe not. Maybe he'll get it reduced. But Peyton Manning, do you remember that guy just kind of swept under the rug? Him being a Houston Texan. Do you remember that little deal that supposedly was going to happen back in late January that was all of a sudden talked about in late June that no one really talked about? Yeah, that was almost a supposed trade that we'll get into today as well. Big deals made in the NFL and NBA. Also, College World Series. Major League Baseball All-Star Weekend. SerenaSlam. Got to talk about that. Amazing woman that is just dominating tennis. First College World... I was trying to mix two together there. First college football polls were released, and some players were kicked off that number 1 ranked team right afterward. And the world, man, I'm telling, did you see the world watching the Women's World Cup? Not only were they watching here, but they were watching around the world, and that's awesome to see them watching women's soccer like that. And guess what? Today's podcast brought to you by Regrow. Don't be ashamed of your bald head, so instead, grow a beard. So you don't feel so weird. No need to think about all day of having to shave any hair on that head. That poor bald head of yours. Fit in with today's society by catching with this new trend of having bald heads and hairy faces. You got that? You got the bald heads. You got that? See that lately? A lot of people have these beards. Even whether you got bald heads or not. That's what Regrow's trying to say. You know, say, hey, you got the hair on your face. Well, how about put it back on your head? So that go get that Regrow, guys. Catch it at regrow.com. I've talked about it. Let's go back, baby. Little Berman. Little boomer. Anyway, how about literally great NBA Finals. A lot of majors, finals, whatever you want to call them, the majors in all the sports, having great finishes, really. I guess the end of the finals weren't too great, but the start of it was a great start. Whereas we talked about the kind of beginning of it, but I didn't get past where the Cavs go up 2-1. And I was even shaking. I'm like, okay, maybe my prediction was wrong. I said the Warriors in 6. And they were certainly shaken. Shooting, couldn't find it. Steph off all game until the fourth quarter. Found their confidence, though, in Game 4. Boy, did they find it. Who I kept calling for David Lee. Everyone around me, boy, they were just like, what? And they probably figured it out if they ever like, oh, I remember that one white guy. He was yelling for David Lee. I'm like, man, put David Lee in. Well, especially when I was with my friends, and I yelled at them after, like, see, I was right. Way more right than I am wrong. At least when I don't like to call a lot of stuff. I just want to call it when I see it. And I'm like, hey, you got a guy making $15 million on the bench over there. He'd be starting for half the other teams in the league. Let's put him in. Let's in the rotation a little bit. The team you're facing, the Cavs, they pretty much have no one underneath. So he started playing. They found their confidence. Steph Curry started shooting it a lot better throughout the whole entire game and passing it. Anyway, they just took over and wore down the Cavs in Game 5 and 6. Got to give it to LeBron, though. First player ever in the NBA Finals to lead both teams in points, rebounds, and assists. 33 points, over 12 and a half rebounds a game, and over 8.5 assists a game. I mean, literally you can call it 33, 13, and 9 almost. Great performance by him. Carried his team. Couldn't get that much help from anyone else. I mean, Dellavedova was here and there. You know, he didn't have much to work with. After Kyrie went down, and even though they went up 2-1, and albeit he had his chances in Game 4, he shot 7 of 12, 31% from the field, 5 of 10 from the free throw line. Terrible. That's terrible. You have the chance to put another nail in the coffin. You almost got him down. This would be the second one, and the next one would be it'd be done. You'd be at 3-1. No one's ever come back 3-1 in the finals. In Game 4 at home, you lay a dud. Let me tell you another little stat, little tidbit. All year long, you know how many times he shot 30-plus times the ball? Guess, just in your head, all those games he played all year, 70 games or so, how many times do you think he shot 30-plus times in the game? 3. 3. You know how many times he did in the NBA Finals? 5. 5 times in 6 games, 5 of the 6, he had 30 shots. And like I said, albeit he had to do it pretty much by himself, but still, you're not trying to create, and all that was, and there was no offense for them. It was ISO. I would have been figuring something out to where you would get the double team as you did, and they were trying to work that in, but pass it to someone and create an offense to where you're going to find guys with open shots that are going to make those shots, whether it's a pick and roll, it's finding someone for a 10 to 15 footer, whoever can hit those, and then practice this. This is all you're practicing, so they're ready for it when it comes. I know game and practice is different. It's like we'll get to Tiger Woods trying to take it from tee to range, or I should say from range to the tee, which we'll get to him. I'm actually watching him live right now, which, wow. Hey, PG, you got to get into this. PGA Tour, man, they're offering something new, and it's free trial for 7 days, which I'm going to try. But you can watch any round anytime right now. You can watch it, and if Tiger tees off at 7 this morning, you can watch him. It should be free, I think, but charging like $5 a month. Anyway, LeBron wore down, and I guess that was what it was. He just wore down. Like I said, 7 of 22, 31%, 5 of 10 in a game that was pretty much a clincher. Could have put him down 3-1. Had a chance, blew it again. Let's move past this whole him and Jordan thing. Especially with the whole what he does in the offseason, which we're about to get into. So let's just talk about the two champions, or Eastern Conference of Western, the two champions of each side, what they look like next year. Both of them look to come right back. Warriors, pretty much the same team. Everyone's locked in except for Draymond Green. He goes from making $900K to giving a max deal almost for the most part, $14.5 million, 5-year, $82 million for Draymond Green. Good for him. That's my hand clap. I didn't want to clap need to get a little. I'll put a little sound effect in afterward. That's what I should do. You know. The show's going to get so much better. About to get a new nice desktop. Not really desktop, but it's all-in-one type thing. Nice big Mac 30 or 21-inch screen where it's all in one, and I can do all my editing right there and add all the stuff in. Right now I'm on a laptop. Really not much I can do. It's on my lap too. I'm in a 1-bedroom apartment, about to get a 2-bedroom house. We're about to upgrade, baby, in October. It's going to be so great for my birthday. Anyway, back to the show. But it's going to get better. I just want to let you know. Hey, I'm letting you know. It's first-hand basis, guys. Come on, I gotta let my friends know. Anyway. You get all that cap room now. You got tons of people making tons of money at the worst. What do you got to do? You got to let $15 million of David Lee. You got to let him go. Let him go. Trade him. We'll get a great deal, though. You trade him to the Celtics. You get Gerald Wallace. So Warriors right back in it next year. Cavs, and then just everyone. Everyone's going to opt out to pretty much see what you do. Just these punks of players that happen now. First, and that's just funny. Love opts out. And so does J.R. Smith around the same time. So there's J.R. Smith, too. He's gone, and he wants to find more than $6.8 million a year. So, and he doesn't look to be coming back. But Love opted out, and he didn't look to be coming back either. He looked to be going to either L.A. or New York. Big time. He wanted to go to the coast or somewhere to a big prime location. Not Cleveland. You get my point. High-profile team. And the next thing you know, he comes back and signs a deal. But I'll get into that. So does LeBron. LeBron lops out for literally a wait and see, and everyone's saying that. Like, what? So that's another thing where I'm just like, no, he's not Jordan. You can't wait and see to see what your team does. Go all in. Remember the slogans, we're all in for the NBA Finals? Where is that? Sign, and I know they've got any team's gonna have the money, but sign it at least a 4 with the 5th-year player option. Sign a 4 or 5 year deal. I know you're 10 years in, so at least a 4 or 5 year deal. Definitely, you're gonna play at least a good 4 or 5 more years. No. Anyway, Kyrie's locked in. He's already good in there. So you got Kyrie, so he's, like I said, LeBron and really Lev at first were waiting for everyone to see what they do, because JR opts out. Well, they pick up Mozgov, his cheap little player option, or a team option, which wasn't much. Shumpert, they get him 4-year, $40 million. So then, literally, LeBron decides to come back as well, after Love signs his 5-year, $115 million contract. So LeBron signs his, literally, it's a 2-year, but it's more of a 1 year with the player option in the 2nd year, and that's exactly what it is, just like what he signed last year. So, hey, I'll play this year for you, and then next season, if I want to opt out and I don't want that $23 million from y'all, I can see if I want to go elsewhere, unless y'all, make sure we have the right team around me again. What? Are you selfish prick? Literally. Are you serious? That's why you're not compared to the greats, and the greats of all time are definitely much better than you. Not only the competition overall what they played against, but certainly that type of mentality. And that's why you don't win championships. That type of mentality. I'm not going to have a whole show about this. I could have a whole hour locked in about you. I want to have an hour about other things as well. So, Kevin Love could be gone next year. He could be gone as early as the All-Star break. If it doesn't work out, they're trying to get Tristan Thompson back. And I'll get into the players who they're trying to also work in. That's pretty much it, because they're going to be, money's gone everywhere now. Kyrie's got 15 mil coming in. Shumpert's 10 mil a year. Now LeBron's 23 a year. Kevin's 21 a year. So their starting lineup's locked up everything pretty much once again. So you're not leaving much room for role players. Although some players will just come in for minimum, literally for the league, whatever their minimum is, whether they're gosh, man, now my mind, I hear you go with the brain fart, where they've been in the league a certain amount of years and they get that, oh God, I keep wanting to say franchise tag. We'll see now, I've got so many news going. Anyway, you get my point. They'll sign them to whatever that minimum is. They're trying to get Tristan Thompson. They're supposedly working on a 5-year, $80 million deal, but that wasn't good enough, and I don't know if that was turned down or it just didn't go through. If Tristan Thompson, if you were offered 5-year, $80 million, and you think you're worth more than that after one decent year and looking good in the NBA Finals up into that, that's fine. You don't deserve more than that's perfect. That's good for you right now. That's wow. Could I have 5-year, $5 million? Someone sign me to a serious deal right now or whatever for 5-year, $5 million, and I would my pants for every day for those 5 years, and that would be a part of my story every day. It'd be a part of my bit. I'd find bits, and there's going to be so many more bits and people joining the show in the next year. So hopefully if I get a 5-year, $5 million one day, and hopefully it comes in 10 years, I'll get that. Dude, 5 mil 80, 5-year 80, I can't even, oh my God. Anyway, wow, are you serious? Is this guy serious, Bella? Could you chime in? I couldn't even imagine. You passed out on the, could you imagine we had that much money, what you'd be sleeping on? Anyway, that would be my great, amazing, Great Dane, beautiful Great Dane. I love my baby girl. Anyway, so they're all in right now. They're trying to get Tristan Thompson back. Leaves Dellavedova. I think they're trying to get him back with, minimum contract. James Jones, Perkins, Varejao. They're going to work the same team. It's the same team as last year, so you see them coming right back. They have no one to face in the Eastern Conference. That's why another thing when I always say Jordan and all the greats. Imagine this. Say the Hawks last year what the Cavs had to face in the Eastern Conference Finals. Should have been really the Bulls, but they gave them a heck of a run before that, and it should have been really the Bulls had them in a way. Anyway, so the Bulls were a decent team, but you think of the all-time greats. Back in the day, and that's what I'm saying, you think there are any all-time greats on that Hawks team that LeBron just had to face in the Eastern Conference Finals? Imagine what Jordan had to go through every time in the Eastern Conference Finals. Then go to the series before that, when they had to face, it'd usually be the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. Before that, it'd be like the Pacers or someone else. Could have been the Hawks again, or the Magic, Anthony Hardaway, Shaq early years. Before then, usually first round it was always like the Hawks, and Dominique had no one around him. But that's who he'd face with all-time greats though, at least one per team. Tell me LeBron's going through that every year, not just like 1 year, not in just the NBA Finals. Anyway, to the free agents. This is a great story. Being down here in Dallas, wow, on deck. Got to talk about this, and I got to start on my. I'm trying to start on my subjects like that. Maybe see if that catches on. On deck, free agents, baby. NBA news. Got to talk about this down here in Dallas. Crazy. So every year, Dirk Nowitzki holds this all-star celebrity baseball game. But from Des Bryant and all those Dallas people, from all the Dallas players and all, as in teams down here, pro teams, Cowboys, Mavs, yada yada yada, Rangers. I don't know if there were any stars this year. To like Charles Barkley, he was supposed to come, but unfortunately his mother passed. God rest her soul. So he couldn't come. Unfortunately, poor guy. But you get my point. Who all the different people are supposed to come? They're the whole time holding up signs, even to who's still, and for whatever reason here, I guess because he's still in Dallas, because maybe he's hoping to get re-signed. Oh my gosh, am I having the brain farts of history today? And I am. I'll have to get back there to Tyson Chandler. Tyson Chandler, who is the center here for the last few years, and they're just kind of, because the second run here, and beloved Tyson Chandler was even holding up signs, like they're wanting to get DeAndre Jordan is the point, to the DeAndre Jordan story. Tweeting stuff, then they recruit him down here, and Mark Cuban has him over, so he pretty much says, yeah, dude, I'm good for a 4-year, $80 million contract. I'm good with that. I'll agree to it. Everyone's recruiting him. Then he goes back to L.A., and the Clippers were doing a nice little recruiting session. Everyone has a little party at his house. CP3, Blake Griffin and the crew at a party at his house, tweeting while they're there. And then they pretty much are tweeting, like, yeah, well, we've pretty much re-signed him over here. And then he does. Signs with the Clippers, re-signs with them officially 4-year, $88 million. And everyone's talking about, oh, what he did was dirty. And it is dirty in a way. It is. On a scale from 1 to 10, though, you got to give it a 3, 4, or 5, no more than a 5, because put yourself in those shoes. Yes, he is from Texas, and yes, you do go home. Just put yourself, even me, who I've never even been close to making that kind of money, but you go home. Even though he's made some money in the NBA, but you get my point. This is going to be the next level. You go home and you go to Dallas and or close to home, and you probably even maybe watched the Mavs a lot growing up as a kid. And Mark Cuban and 4 for 80. And you're like, man, this is awesome. You're like, man, I would love to say yes. How can I not say yes? This is back home. I grew up in Texas. But then you go back to L.A. where you've created memories already. You don't have to think about creating new memories. You already have CP3. You have Blake Griffin. And then there's you and the rest of the crew. I mean, you easily got to get back to the Western Conference Finals if we had me. That's almost a shoe-in now. The Mavs, well, they got to add some pieces. They don't have CP3. They definitely don't have Blake Griffin. They got Nowitzki, yeah, but then me and him down low, that'd be good. But anyway, well, we could find another piece. We could probably do it. But, man, L.A., I've already created pieces there. I already have this memory and a house there, and you get my point. So it would be hard not to then go back to L.A. and agree to that. And he does, and he signs. Story's over. Great for the Clippers. They're great. I mean, this is great for them. They're going to next year. I don't see why they're not going to be most likely favored to be back not only as a number probably 2, 3, or 4 seed, somewhere right around there. I don't see why they're not back there. Definitely in the Western Conference Finals against, I'll get to another team that signed a huge free agent in the offseason. About a month ago. But great for the Clippers. Is it dirty? I wouldn't call it dirty. I don't honestly see it as anything out of the ordinary. It's today's society. Put yourself in those shoes. It's not like he... Honestly, you know what I'm saying? It's not like he already was with that team or... And I know maybe he said, yeah, I'll agree to that, but there was no fine writing. He didn't literally sign a piece of paper, is my point. So, next big pickup. LaMarcus Aldridge. Huge for the Spurs. Huge. The Spurs. Damian Lillard signs a massive contract with the Blazers to re-sign with the Blazers, and 5-year, $120 million. But LaMarcus says, no, I'm good. I'm going to go play for the Spurs. I think I have a better shot there. And it's funny, all these guys getting big contracts. Look, imagine Tim Duncan. He's still producing, still have great numbers. 2-year, 150. 2-year, 100. That would be 2-year, $10.5 million. Tim Duncan extension, 2-year, $10.5 million just to get like LaMarcus and keep all the players in. So that's when I go back to people like, he's made his money. He's smart with his money. And people like, I don't know how Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, especially Tom Brady's married to Giselle, who makes more than him a year. Way more than him. Not way more, but more than him. How can you not make like readjust however you can, even if there's some kind of a fine on other that just, even if you have to cut, whatever you have to do, how can you not and that's, I hate, there are some stupid ass rules in the NFL to where you get fined if you do this. So you'd have to like cut them and re-sign them or something. Like, because I was really getting into it about the Peyton thing and why he can't take more. And I think they still could, but you get my point. Why don't you've got all these and all the outside endorsements you make? And like I said, Peyton and Tom Brady both have probably made $400 million in their career. I know they have. Yet what in the heck are they doing? Not taking just like $1 million so you can sign whoever the heck they want this year. You get my point. Wow. So, Kawhi Leonard signs back with the Spurs with a bigger contract, 5 years, $95 million. LaMarcus, 4-year, $84 million with the Spurs. So the Spurs next year, I know the Grizzlies will still look good. Then, of course, the Clippers, they should definitely still be right there with them. I'd say right above the Grizzlies again. But, man, it's got to be the Warriors and the Spurs, and I can't wait to see that in the NBA Western Conference Finals. And I hope it's the Cavs, and I hope it's the Bulls in the Eastern Conference Finals. Wow. Great pickups for both those teams. And I don't see, and that's the thing, it's so lopsided. You talk about other teams, there's a couple other decent teams out there, but there's not all-time greats. This isn't a deep league like it used to be. There's a bunch of talent out there. Single talent too, and players that can play. Even they would have played back then, yes, they would have. But just the overall depth of overall greatness back then far surpasses what is on the court right now. It's not even close. I mean, even teams like, say, Anthony Davis agrees to this extension with the Pelicans, 5 for $140, a massive contract, and that's probably why. Plus, he's created memories. He's been there, probably has a home maybe now. He's not. That's it. What are the Pelicans going to do? You're not going to. They might be the 8th seed. They might get like this year. They didn't get it. They might be the 7th, 8th seed next year. They're not looking to do anything. Where teams in the yesteryears, like Dikembe and the Nuggets, that year they upset the Supersonics. Like just that, there's those years where you never know because there's great players all throughout 1 through 8, and 1 through 8 solid. Usually it can be 1 through 5 or 6 really solid, if not 1 through 4 certainly. Where now it's the Western Conference, is certainly 1 through 4 is really solid. Maybe 1 through 5 or 6 even. Eastern Conference not even close. NBA draft. And I want to get right to it. The bus. Karl Anthony Towns. Didn't want to tease it, but wanted to tease it, but then didn't tease it in the opener. And wanted to say, would you believe me? I think the biggest bust in the NBA draft is Karl Anthony Towns, and it will be. Hey, he's playing for the Timberwolves. It's like Darren McFadden, my boy, if he gets drafted by even the Cowboys say back in the day, maybe. Well, yeah, I just say that because he's with them now. But the Broncos say back then, or the Ravens, or a team that has a solid running game and even has a solid system of coaches. You don't think Darren McFadden has a better career than he's had? I know he's from Arkansas and I'm Homer, but you get my point. Just players like I can go. Scottie Pippen. He goes and stays with the not Supersonic. Who was it that he got? Warriors or whoever it was. Even Supersonics before they were good because that was back in the late mid 80s. You think he's the player that he is? No. It's who you get drafted by and who develops you and who you get developed with. Karl Anthony Towns with the Timberwolves. Hopefully, Kevin Garnett can mentor him into a mature player and a player that I think is going to be a great caliber. You got Rubio up there. So you have a pretty good point guard. Maybe them two together can. I think it gets traded somehow. I think they're going to, find a way to get rid of him because another team wants to see if they can't do something with him. But then my point exactly, you go to L.A., we'll see who they have coaching them, as far as in the next few years if we have to maintain the coaching. But I think that's the reason D'Angelo Russell's going to have a better shot of being a pro than maybe Jahlil Okafor were if either one of these guys switched spots. Whoever would have went to L.A., I think, was going to have a better shot than if they went to the Timberwolves or the 76ers. I even think if one of those guys go to the Knicks, they have a better shot than if they're with the 76ers or Timberwolves, being that what they've done in the last few years. That's exactly what those teams have been about. Being terrible, as my man Charles Barkley would say, so you can get a high draft pick. And they've done nothing with them, and if they've done something, they've gotten rid of them. Magic, you think you're going to get? I think they're going to get Justice Winslow. A lot of these teams, he goes down to the Heat, and I think that's a great player you want to watch out for. That's one of my first hidden gems. Everyone knows about D'Angelo Russell. I think Justice Winslow, they're kind of talking about, but I really think him under Dwayne Wade, who he'll play for probably for another 2 years at least, maybe even 3 more. Although he could leave supposedly, but I think he stays there depending on how. I think Justice Winslow has a great shot. Even after regardless, just because of his size, it's like 6'5", 6'6", 2 whatever. He's got great size, great ability. Athletic is my point. He can shoot the ball. I think he's already got a shoe deal. Not that means anything, but that's my point. They already know he's going to be one of those players. He's going to be average. He has a shot at winning Rookie of the Year next year and averaging 15 points a game, I think. 15 points, 4 or 5 rebounds, 2 or 3 assists, maybe a steal even a game. Some of these guys from all these countries that ruin. Would this surprise you? Number 1, of course, overall, how many players drafted by each team? Guess who was number 1? Of course it was Kentucky, but guess, would it surprise you? And I should almost tease this. Would it surprise you that the second team that had the most players drafted, well, it wasn't Duke. No, wasn't Kansas. You're going to be surprised when I tell you this now. You're going to be really Serbia. Serbia had 3 players drafted 1, and everyone else is right behind them with 2. Wisconsin had 2. I think Duke had 2. Everyone had 2. Except for, Serbia. They come through with 3. San Antonio Spurs drafted Nikola Munilovilov at 26 overall in the first round. And you get down here in the second round. Late in the second round, 2 players were drafted almost back-to-back. Denver Nuggets drafted another one, Nikola Radovanovic, 57th overall. And the 76ers, Luka Mitrovic, at 60th, the last pick of the draft. So, big surprise there. Kind of roll through and look at this, and always tons of foreign players getting drafted. Tons. And it's just you would think that's why I don't like the NBA draft. I'm not going to spend much time. It's just a bust. And you'll never hear of any of these players. Hardly any of them. It's just a pick. It's a hand. Hey, let me pick your hands. And then some of these guys that go to these D leagues that don't get even drafted end up being better players than all these guys. And it's like, why didn't you draft them? That's why they're on these guys' boards. This isn't Mel Kiper. Usually the guys that, obviously this isn't the guy that just sat around. They just picked up off the couch forever ago and it was decent at it. These are like pro players or coaches there or whatever that have that put these boards out and say, yeah, this is what I think talent should be. And then they just like, well, I'm an NBA player. I'm an NBA scout. I'm an NBA executive. We know what we're doing. We're up in the up. And my other man to watch, though, Bobby Portis. Watch out for him. Him and Karl Anthony Towns battled it out in one of the preseason early games. Bobby Portis had like 20 points. It was almost a triple-double. He had like 20 points, 10 rebounds, and I forgot, like 5 assists or something. Karl Anthony Towns had like 5 points and 5 rebounds. Wasn't even close. Just not on a good team. Remember that. I'm going to call. That's my call probably of the day right now because there's not much to call. Right, call it right now. It's over even Okafor. I think he maybe has a better shot. I just think Karl Anthony Towns is your bust. That's your overall button. He's number 1 overall. And he's going to come back as one of the biggest busts of all time. 10th of all time. Call it. Done with that because I can't even stand the NBA draft. Just loved watching Bobby Portis get drafted. On deck, U.S. Open, and I called it. Well, sort of. Called Spieth and Zach Johnson. Everyone in the names, and I said there'd be a couple people fighting for it at the end. I knew there would be, but I have a good feeling about Spieth. Course looked terrible, by the way, and that wasn't even not much to talk about. Everyone knew that. great surrounding background. Like when you saw the shots, they do that's what they wanted. They saw those pan outs. They probably went there like, oh, this course, and it probably went there in its prime. They had invited them when it looked green, and they're like, oh my God, this looks beautiful with the coast, and oh my God, it looked like a postcard. Then you actually see it up close and see when they show the green up. Oh my gosh, I feel bad for them. Terrible. Even if I've played courses like that, even if you were playing good, it's hard to play that great because the green's even. I mean, my gosh, it's like you're putting on whatever, cauliflower, broccoli. And also on top of that, there were no fans in sight. You get that reaction from the fans. That gives you goosebumps at home. When you're at home, you're watching the tournament, you're not there. You're watching at home. You want some kind of reaction. Yeah, you're going to get some when you watch, especially if you're watching your favorite player. But remember when Tiger, of course that's one of my favorites, but remember all those people surrounding him at the Masters on that 16th when he chipped in, and they're just all around the green, and just to see all their reaction right around him. I mean, if that was me, I couldn't help but almost turn around and want to high-five all of them. You didn't get that feeling there. You couldn't get that goosebump feeling at home from the crowd's reaction. But you did get at least an amazing finish on the 18th hole. Spieth one-head a group of DJ. It came down to him and Dustin Johnson on the 18th hole, which was just amazing, which played as a par 4 and a par 5 throughout the week, because it was right there at that 500-yard mark where you could do it as both. Played as a par 5 on Sunday. You got to, baby. Got to. You got to give that advantage to the players and say, hey, here's a chance to go out and get a birdie if you want. Maybe even an eagle if you can put it close and make a putt. Make a putt's the main thing. So it makes things interesting, baby. Spieth on green in 2 makes a perfect drive in the fairway, puts it up on the green in 2, chance at eagle to really extend his lead out. Misses it. Misses about a 12 to 15 footer. Makes the birdie though, gets the 5 under. Who now that makes him one ahead of DJ, who just birdied 17 to get to 4 under. So DJ in the final group bombs. I mean bombs. It's like one of the longest drives of the week on any of the holes. Bombs because of his drive, which clutch from BJ. Got to give him that clutch. At least there was that clutch moment at least. He probably had 30, 40 less yards than what Spieth had in. Puts it about 5 feet closer. He's definitely about, I forgot what it was, about 12 feet out. 10 feet out. But he's a little bit above the hole where Spieth's ball kind of drifted below the hole. A lot of slopes on those greens. Oh, unfortunately missed the putt. I mean, went by and you saw it had a little speed. So he had about a 4-footer for birdie for an 18-hole playoff, which would have been on Monday. I love the way the U.S. Open has their playoff. 18-hole playoff. Imagine that on Monday. Spieth versus DJ. The best 2 in the game right now when it comes to the American. Maybe best 2 in the world right now as far as anyone's playing. Battling it out on Monday for the U.S. Open, 2 Americans. Oh, just like back in 2008. When we had Rocco and Tiger with a bum knee. But he misses his 4-foot putt. Misses it. Oh, poor Dustin can't get a break in these majors. So there's his unclutch moment once again. Now to the British Open, which I did not call. Called the NBA Finals to the exact T. Pretty much called the U.S. Open. British Open, nah. I knew once again there were going to be some people in it late. Didn't think Spieth I thought Spieth wasn't going to be out of gas. Playing in the John Deere before that, having a flyover. Didn't have a chance. But he had a chance. And boy was he in it late. A handful was in it late. Spieth, Day, Oosthuizen, and Zach Johnson. Not DJ this time. DJ had a lead though. He was playing great halfway through, and it just kind of fell apart. Out of all the people that finished, or I should say, out of all the people that made the cut, he had the worst 36 holes on Saturday and Sunday. All the people that made the cut, and with him in the lead, he actually had the worst 36 after that. He's like 5 over. And Mark Leishman. I forgot about Mark Leishman. That's the surprise story. He had the lead heading down the backstretch, actually. Neck and neck they are. Johnson actually gets in before all of these guys at 15 under. He knows he has a chance, goes down to one knee, and he knew he got something there. I was like, man, well, even now I'm kind of going, well, man, I know you're like at 15 under, but man, dude's right at 15. I think the other guy was at 15. I think Leishman was at 15 under because that's what Johnson did. He birdied 18 to get to 15, and Leishman was either at 15 or was at 14 at that point. So maybe taking the lead, heading into the clubhouse, and these guys had 3-4 to go, so they had plenty of time. And 18 plays, it's short. It's a short hole, so it's birdieable to anyone. And here comes our boy Spieth. Can he do it? Can he win the first three legs of the first three legs? He's looking to win all of them. Birdie 16 to tie for the lead with 2 to go. Leishman, Johnson, Spieth 15 under. Spieth bogey 17, unfortunately. It's a long hole. I can't imagine playing that hole. Hitting over the building. I mean, imagine that right now. Put yourself in those shoes. Even in my heyday, I couldn't imagine. I mean, I would have aimed left like they do. I would have been, hey, I'm going over to number 2. I'm not even trying over. And if you know what I'm saying, especially if they made that out of bounds, just to really make it hard. I'd go into the building. So Spieth bogey 17. Now we're down to 18. Down 1 to get into that, what would be at least a playoff for at the time being with him and Johnson. Short hole has about 120 yards in for a second shot. Hits it up to the hole, but boy, puts too much spin on it. Spins off to the green. About 20 feet now he has for birdie up the hill. Misses it. Our boy from Dallas, our boy Spieth. I love you, bro. Yeah, you won the first 2. Great. One of only 2 or 3 ever. Last one to do it, I know, was Arnie. To win the first 2 majors and lose the third one by 1 stroke as he did. So here we go, backstretch. Now back to everyone else. We got Leishman heading in. We got Day heading in. We got Spieth, or I should say Spieth just finished. So it's Day, Uzi, and Leishman heading down the backstretch. Day misses on 18. He misses his birdie putt to tie at 15 under, so he's out. Leishman, though, makes his birdie. He's at 15 under, so now we surely have a playoff. Uzi, who won this. He won the British Open the last time it was at St. Andrews. Back in 2011. Can he get into the playoff? And he does. Makes a birdie at 18, if you do recall. So now we have a 3-man playoff, which this is just great. Great. Johnson and Uzi both birdie the first one. Mark Leishman bogey. So now it's pretty much over. For the most part, it's either Uzi or Johnson. Johnson then birdies the second one. He's on a roll. His putter's on fire. They all bogey pretty much one of the hardest holes on the course, 17. Johnson has a chance to close it out on 18. Misses his close birdie putt. Uzi to tie for more playoff holes for the birdie. Misses. Johnson wins. Great. And he was in tears. It just meant so much to him. And Tiger, man, this is great for Zach Johnson to win his second majors. Now he's won the Masters and he's won St. Andrews. Well, he's won 2 elite courses. Great to his resume. Great steady player. Tiger, though, I'm about to watch him. I hadn't gone back to him. I'm about to get to him right now. Watching him live with this Quicken Loans National that he is the host of. But just playing terrible as of late. Can't make the cut. No, I'm just telling you, it's all in your head. I'm not going to get into a long segment about this, but a lot of this is into his head. Why ever would you change swings? I don't understand that. When you do something so well, what is the point of changing it, you know? I've go through this many times with many people in different sports, all these different people. It's like they don't change their things. They get better to where it's critiqued to the best, and then they leave it there. They're not trying to critique it. I don't get the swing change thing. Don't get it. If anything, get over all your swing coaches you're with, and I don't like them, and I really don't like your caddy. I wish you'd go back to Stevie, especially when he was off the bag there for a while with him and Adam Scott got in a tiff. I was hoping that was your chance to get it rekindled with him. You need him back on your bag. You need a little boost of confidence, because that's what you need. You need a little boost of confidence. Of course, if you know, back in just a little over a year ago, May 2014, I went over this in the last show. Number 1 in the world. He had worked his way back, and he was number 1 in the world for almost a year. 2013, he had 5 wins. Player of the year. Was almost in he was in the major contentions again, but he won 5 times. I think he won the 5th major in 2013. I think he won the tournament in May. The Players Championship at Sawgrass. You know, number 17, the infamous 17. Yes. Get over all your head stuff. Because they say he hits it just ridiculously so flawless, amazing on the range, but he can't transfer it over to the course. And now, in the tournament yesterday, he came out just terrible. Bogey 3 of his first 4. I'm like, oh my God, no, he's 3 over through 4. Oh, but boy, here we go, and he gets on a birdie streak. Next thing you know, I look up as we're doing the show. I'm doing the show, and he's got 4 birdies in a row. He's at 2 or 3 under. He finishes at 3 under. And then same today. I saw some birdies earlier, and I forgot. Well, I think he was up to 5 under. But that's my point. And I think supposedly there are tiffs or rumors that he was getting rid of his new swing coach. Tiger, you need to get rid of all these people and go back to what you did to win the best. And that was hitting. And I see a lot of that today when I see him hitting off the. You need to hit your 3-wood off the driver, or off the tee a lot more. Quit hitting that driver. Because once you hit that 3-wood a lot, you're in the fairway. You're hitting at 270, 280. On these holes that are 450 to 470, it's all you need. Literally. Stiffen those irons in every once in a while. Getting that putter back on fire. Making a putt. Getting that confidence rolling. So then eventually you can pull that driver out on a par 5 or where you have comfortable with the hole, especially when the hole bends to where you're to your liking. If it doglegs right to that nice little cut you like to hit, then you'll feel nice and comfortable and confident. I wish my 2 big pointers, which you go back to one of your old swings or your swing coaches, especially get over your tiffs and go back to Stevie. But Stevie's now back on the bed with Adam Scott, so I don't know how that's going to work. But you get my point. Mainly grab the confidence, just slowly but surely, like you're doing. You got to play. You're going to have to play more often. If you don't win this week, supposedly, I think he has to win this week or get close to winning to continue winning, playing because it's about tournament time where they have the, when they start the finals and get into the last few. Besides obviously he'll get to play at the PGA Championship, but he's only got a certain amount of tournaments he can play unless he wants to make the final, make that cut to get into that FedEx Championship little thing they do. He's not high in the standings. He's very low. He needs to get a win, really. And he could easily win this tournament. He's won it twice. Now let's go back to his round. And he has now moved himself to 6 under. So I love this. You can not only have the shot tracker, but you also can, like I said, you can watch it live. But shot trackers, that's free. But you could also, like I said, it's a free PGA Tour live. You can watch a tournament. They'll have literally detailed inside look for the not only the marquee group, but they'll show, my point being, they'll show highlights of other people, but they'll stay with the marquee group the whole time. It is live coverage. So he's birdied front 9. He started off with the bogey on the 5th hole. He started on 10. On 14, he had a bogey on a par 5, so he's went over. Then birdies. Then that's the old Tiger. This is the old Tiger, not the new Tiger where he wouldn't do this. The old Tiger, and we should just, hopefully, that's just so unfortunate that we have to have an old and new Tiger that we can't just say, well, Tiger, this is what Tiger would do, and this is what Tiger does. Tiger birdies a hole after he bogeys. He bogeys a hole, and they laid a stat out the other day. I think it was like pretty much 70% of the time in his prime, 70% of the time, or I think it was even 80. I forgot what it was. Ridiculous. Highest ever. One of the highest ever. He would birdie the next hole. If he bogeyed a hole, he would birdie the next. So he birdies 15, then he birdies 18. Then he comes back, and he birdies 1. So he birdies, once again, he has 2 days in a row where he has multiple birdies in a row, which that's huge. That builds confidence. You have 2 birdies in a row, golfers, anyone that plays golf, you have 2 birdies in a row, hello. You, especially if you don't play that much. And if you don't, like me, I play quite a bit, and I'm not even a pro. And you get that feeling like, okay, yeah, I'm feeling it now. I'm pulling that driver out. That's when you start making mistakes when you're not, when you're in the amateur status. Pros, they know, and I've gotten to that stage where I was like, okay, I know I want to shoot good, so let's hit an iron if we need to on this hole, literally off the tee. And I was at that point for a while. Now I'm just kind of like, okay, I'm driver again. Get that, as Dad says, get that Buick out. Where's that Cadillac? The big driver heads. So then he birdies 1. Keep parring. Then he birdies 4, a par 3. And he's hitting it close. And that not only is he not only hitting it close sometimes, like he's making his putts. 19 feet on number 4, the par 3, this last hole he played when he birdied, 19-foot putt in. And putts where he's having to lag it up, 27-foot putt I saw earlier. It was a 27-foot putt. He was 6 inches away after the putt was over. His birdie on number 1, he stiffed it to 3 feet. He had that, I think, again on earlier in one of the holes. He's stiffing it. Not only that builds confidence. You stiff it, you make a 3-foot putt. Okay, now you're kind of building confidence. So even if you put it 10, 15 feet out, those putts are getting closer. And you might even make one. So Tiger's really starting to build the confidence. It's good that he's starting to play more. Needs to play more. So he's on the 5th hole. He's got 5 left today. I should say, he's just about to finish up the 5th. His second one was, it says, 36 feet away. He finished up. So he's about to be through the 5th hole, onto the 6th. like I said, get those things out of the way. If you would listen to me, Tiger, you'd be so good. I know you would be. On deck, though, let's talk about the MFL. Tom Brady. Oh, that poor guy spent 10 hours in a courtroom for nothing. Literally. Supposedly his biggest ally was himself, did a great job, answered all the questions correctly, matter of fact. Then the NFL says, now we're going to uphold our 4-game suspension. Now they're going to take it to court. So we'll see what happens. August 13th is the next court date. They could still supposedly reach an agreement before then and figure out a certain amount of games to be suspended. We shall see. And I'll get back into this and what that means for the Patriots later into the next show. I want to keep zipping on ahead, but it's not good. I don't think Garoppolo's going to have it. I think he might play decent, but I think they could easily, if he doesn't play, especially if it's all 4, I think they could be 1-3, and then they have a bye week, which is good because they do play Dallas the next week, and that's not good for Brady's first game back, especially if Dallas is playing good. But Dallas isn't the same team as last year, I don't think, so we'll get into that. Contracts, though, which is funny. Days that deal had to be done, they were done. NFL was looking into, and supposedly, and they were, probably going to fine the Dallas Cowboys and the Denver Broncos for colluding the contracts of Dez Bryant and Demaryius Thomas if they weren't signed, or they were just going to fine them if they weren't signed, but the day they had to be signed, which was whatever it was, like July 21st, whatever day it was. They had to be signed. If they long-term deals had to be done that day, or else they would it was a franchise tag, or that's it. So with that literally coming out days before, that came out 2 days before the contracts had to be done, ESPN, all these reports are coming out like, hey, we're looking into finding y'all. And what that means is the Denver Broncos and the Cowboys were going behind pretty much closed doors, or, they're going behind, the scenes and saying, hey, what are you doing for Dez's contract? Hey, what are you doing for DT? How much are you going to give him? What's the year going to be worth? They want to give him the same amount. They don't want to give him one because they don't want DT to get a smaller deal or Dez to get a smaller deal, especially if DT got a 5, like say if DT's deal was, instead of 5 years 70, it was 5 years 75, and DT got a 5 for 70. DT like, well, he just got one, he's getting $1 million more a year. Yada, yada, yada. So they were going to look into finding them for doing that, about talking behind closed doors of giving. And what's so funny, not only did they come out on the same day, they came out within minutes of each other in their same exact contracts. 5 years, $70 million, with I think one of them getting like a $500,000 more in guaranteed money. That is literally it. The exact same contract coming out within minutes of each other. And I can't believe the NFL still didn't look into after, especially something like that. How one of them didn't go, hey, you do yours the day before mine, so it didn't look a little too suspicious. And you get my point? How funny is that? And I love Dez. I think he's a great player, and I especially love the Broncos and DT. I'm glad they kept him over Julie, giving him, and I figured they could get both of them, but I guess they couldn't. But I would love to kept Julius, but we couldn't. But I definitely would have kept DT over him. So funny how they came out the same time on the exact same numbers. Another huge deal. Biggest deal ever for a linebacker ever, and biggest deal for a Chief ever. Justin Houston, 6-year, $110 million. I should say 6-year, $101 million for $52.5 million. What that means for all these teams, awesome. And a lot of money going out to one player, but hey, it's worth it. Justin Houston, by far one of the best pass rushers in the league, about like Von Miller, I'm surprised, and he's going to have to soon. He's going to get a massive contract. DT and Dez worth it. They're by far the best receivers in the league, although that kind of figures into about $14.5 million a year. The number one guy, Calvin Johnson's at 16. I think they're right there. I guess it is 1A, 1B, and they're both 1B, as in Johnson's 1A and they're both 1B. But I think they're about right there with Calvin, because Calvin's had a lot of injuries lately. And he couldn't, and that's the unfortunate thing about someone like, and I think that has a lot to do with where he went and had no one blocking for him. But you get injury prone, and you kind of, unfortunately, keep getting these injuries, and some people kind of get over them, and some people don't, and they kind of keep recurring, as in Darren McFadden. And like my man, who I love, Megatron. I love Megatron. I love it because I love Transformers. Well, I love Optimus Prime way more than I love Megatron, but I love the name. Love it. I love him. He's great. He's huge. Great target. Certainly is number one in the league, especially when he's at his prime. But I honestly think DT and Dez are right there with him now. I think a couple years ago they had the separation, but now that DT and Dez have matured, they're right there with Calvin. And I think all three of those are the best three in the league. Then you have Julius Thomas, and you have A.J. Green right there underneath them as the 4 and 5 guys in the league. And I guess Antonio Brown of the Steelers. But those are I think DT and Dez are worth, you get my point. So they didn't get the deal I'm sure maybe they wanted, but they got a long-term deal, so they're guaranteed more than a franchise tag, I guess, every year. They're guaranteed, because the franchise tag was like $13.5 million. So they're not making much more than they were going to make already. I guess it's just the long-term security that they're going to get. But great for all the teams. They needed it. Those teams deserved it. I'm glad they didn't go to other teams. I like when players stay with the teams they're with. So it's great for all that. There's no real reason to get in all that. That's great. Can't wait for Peyton to have DT to throw to on the outside, and I guarantee you Romo's certainly happy to have Dez still to throw to on the outside. Guys that could just go up and get it. And when they get it, they can take it to the house on any play. Did you hear about the July 4th stories, though? Get into this real quick. Jason Pierre-Paul and C.J. Wilson. Pierre-Paul of the Giants, defensive lineman. C.J. Wilson, defensive back. What defensive players, these guys. Supposedly their IQs are lower than offensive players. But anyway, C.J. Wilson, defensive back of the Buccaneers, had a little fun on July 4th. A little too much fun, I'd have to say. And blew their freaking fingers off. You're really going to go get fireworks that are... And that's fine. I've seen them before, and I love them. I'd probably play with them if I had the money or could go get the license to go get them. Blow your fingers off, though? They kill people. Another guy, a guy died in Maine. Look it up. Put they're called a mortar. I don't know if that's funny they called it that, but the things, that have like a little platform, little tubes that you drop something down in and it comes flying up out of it. Yeah, he put one of those on its head. The guy's friend thought he was joking, and it pretty much blew his head up. He died. You blow your fingers up, now they're out indefinitely until they can heal themselves. They just had to get fingers taken off. Funny, though, back in the day, here you got Ronnie Lott for the 49ers just tears his fucking whatever. I forgot what finger it was. Just tears it off and keeps rolling in the middle of the game. The guys today. On deck, got a little baseball news. Cards World Series, almost an all SEC final, literally. Almost. That would have been great. Just awesome for the SEC, and I'm sure they wanted it. But Vandy versus Virginia. Can Vandy go back-to-back? Not so fast, my friend. Vandy gets up, though, 5-1 in the first game. Virginia comes back, shuts them out 3 on the next game, and then Vandy takes game, or blah, 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 blah. The other V. Too many V's here. Virginia takes it game 3. It's over. Almost back-to-back champs in both softball and in baseball for the SEC because Florida won in softball, and they just won last year. So how about that? Got to get to my man from Arkansas, Andrew Benintendi. Man, he swept it. I don't know. I tried to look this up. I couldn't find it, though, so I don't know if and I'm sure he isn't. But the only guy that I can find that has won the Golden Spikes Award, that's a top amateur baseball player, SEC Player of the Year. Obviously, I was just trying to find Player of the Year award as in Big Ten, Pac, whatever it was. So that was what I'm saying, not just the SEC. So won the Golden Spikes, won the SEC Player of the Year, and he also won the Dick Howser Trophy, which is the top player in college baseball. Swept it. Selected 7th overall by the Red Sox. He led the nation this last year with 20 home runs and is the first Division I player since 2009 with at least 20 home runs and 20 or more steals. Man can do it all. He hits .376 this last year and was 3rd in the nation, 3rd, with a slugging percentage of .717. So he slugs it, he steals it. So if you can run that fast, that's great. I mean, that's huge. So you can get doubles, you can get triples. I forgot to look how many doubles and triples he had, but he was up there in doubles and triples as well. Then he plays center field, so he can catch everything. Man, look out for Andrew Benintendi, and just because of the name, Benintendi, Andrew Benintendi. Man, hate losing that guy. I mean, we had a great run this year. Home Run Derby. Just the All-Star break was just different this year. I'm sure you saw the rules. Just different. No more outs. Oh, just so accustomed to the outs, but no more. We have rounds and minutes. Was 5 minutes, and that is the normal rule, but we had to cut it down to 4 because of weather moving in this year. So it was 3 rounds, each cutting it down. It was a 1 seed versus 8 seed, 2 versus 6. You get my point. 3 rounds, 5 minutes apiece. We can earn extra time. 90 seconds if a bonus time during each round, 1 minute. Let's see, if you hit at least 420 feet, 30 seconds extra if you hit 1 home run of at least 475 feet. That's like in your normal time frame. So then you can get an extra up to 90 seconds, which will just be added on to keep hitting home runs. And it's just however many home runs you can hit in that time, that's what you get. So, like, say, the home man, that's what we're just going to get straight to. The man wins it, and I love it. The home man, and it's like the 3rd time ever, the last since Ryan Sandberg did it in 91 with the Cubbies. Todd Frazier from the Reds wins. You got to love that when the home crowd man wins like a one-man sport because you can really cheer for that. I mean, in an all-star game, I guess, if, like, say, he hit the game-winning home run, walk-off home run, then I guess that's one thing. But this is more of a hometown win, really, in a way. Frazier. The hometown man, Frazier, he wins. And this is my point. He beat Prince Fielder of my, of who I kind of cover, of the Rangers. a 2 seed versus 7 seed. He was a 2, which is kind of funny, versus a 7 seed. Prince Fielder, he went first, so he had 13 in his regulation, and all Frazier had to do was hit 14, and he did, all the way to the end, and he wins. Great. Kind of gets all just, home run derby. I guess it added a little interest into it this year. I don't have anyone to cheer for, so it isn't like the old. I mean, I kind of was cheering for him at the end, so you kind of just root for him. It's just not like watching it live. I recorded. It's not like watching it live back when they went like Griffey and McGuire, and so you knew it was just going to be a fun time. Just couldn't wait to watch it. But he takes out Jock Peterson in the end. Jack. And just another stat. Hey, yeah, and then the All-Star game. How about this? 20 players were 25 years or younger, so it's really showing the youth, which is great, and I'm sure the MLB loves that and loves that stat in the All-Star game. And how about this? First time ever, would you believe this? First time ever there was not a Yankee or Red Sox starter. Now, they were there in the game, but can you imagine out of all the years there have been All-Star games, there's at least a Yankees or a Red Sox starter. Not this year, my friends. For the first time ever. That is a stat that is worthy of noting. Can you believe that? I thought that was kind of shocking. Shocking. All right, next on deck. I mean, how about ratings that were bigger than the NBA Finals? Would you believe that, my friends? Women's World Cup averaged a little bit higher ratings than the NBA Finals. Yes, it's true. Go look it up. Another story that kind of just gets swept under the rug because we talk about Brady every day on all our sport network. But trust me, when I own ESPN or have to run it or am close to doing that stage, we're going to be changing things up, and it isn't going to be so. Hey, so every sports center, it's going to be the same thing over and over. Cookie cutter, same thing. Hey, when you see that at 9:36, you'll see that again at 10:36. What? Terrible. Anyway, USA gets out of group stage, number 1, moves on, which helps with their seeding, just so you know how that works. You win your group stage, where you'll play everyone in your group. Say if you're in the group D, you'll play everyone in there, and then if you come out on top, the higher you come out, well, the higher you are seeded, so then in the next knockout round, so that way you can play a lower seeded team. So they beat Colombia, which really I figured they'd beat them more, but they only beat them 2-0. Then they play 16th ranked in the world. China beat them 1-0. Then they play first ranked Germany in the semifinals. So it's Final Four, if you want to call it. Germany, baby, number 1 in the world. So our first real test. How are we going to look? We look great. Pretty much dominate the whole match. Win 2-0. We're not even letting up goals, people. We're dominating people. Finally, though, which is awesome, another team we've been rooting for the whole time, as bad as we don't want to, we wanted it, the rematch everyone wanted, the team that knocked us out in the last World Cup, in the finals, in a PK shootout. Japan, 4th in the world, does reach the finals. Those girls just couldn't wait to take the field. I mean, imagine that. Imagine you losing your state championship game or whatever, if you did play college, but just say high school guys. Girls, you lost your high school championship game, basketball, softball, football, baseball, any sport, golf. The next year, you're just hoping and craving. No, obviously you want to win again if you're coming back. But man, you want to face them again so bad. So there's sometime in that year, but you would love to face them in the championship game so bad. And imagine if you did get that moment. You got to play the team that knocked you out the year before. How pumped would you be? I almost get goosebumps rethinking about just beating that team. Because I did have a couple of those that I just could not wait, and I did get one. I was 1-1 in those, just so you know. And yes, it's bitter sweet. One of them was sweet, and one of them was bitter, boy. But the ratings off the roof again for the final, and we're facing Japan. So imagine what the ratings were in that game. Way higher than anything. It was like I forgot 17 or 18. The highest NBA final game, I think it was like 14 or 15. Crazy. Up 2-0. Can you imagine that, up 2-0 in the first 10 minutes, up 4-0 in the first 25? Carly Lloyd already has a hat trick. Fastest hat trick ever in World Cup history. Any men's or women's, fastest World Cup history, the fastest hat trick ever. Had a hat trick in 25 minutes. They're up 4-0. The only hat trick ever in women's World Cup history. They win 5-2, baby. Just domination. Domination by the women. Got exactly what they wanted, and great. My applause goes out to them again. My little golf applause. Great for them. Not so great. We'll go from the top to the bottom. Micronesia soccer. Did you hear about this? Trying to qualify for the 2016 Olympics. Look this up. Couldn't even fill a 23-man roster. So how do they go out about winning or maybe even losing their games? Oh, they lost all right. How about the first game? It's a group play. There's 4 teams, so you got 3 games. You play each one of the teams. 30-0 they lost. Next game, 38-0. That was, at the time, the largest loss in international soccer history. They went, you know what, that isn't good enough. Let's lose 46-0, and let's let a guy score 16 on us. He beats us 16-0 himself. Largest loss ever in international soccer history. Unfortunately, it's not affiliated with FIFA. They're not. So that still goes out to Australia beating Samoa 31-0 when they were trying to qualify. I think it was for the 02 Olympics. So let's do that back in 2001. Or maybe it was for the maybe even for the World Cup. I can't remember. 30-0, 38-0, 46-0 for a grand total of 114-0. You lose badly in all 3 of your matches. Imagine losing 46-0 and some guy scores 16 on you. You can find a couple articles. Guys, there are guys there with computers and they're not even sending, they don't even know who's switching in and out anymore for the one team. They couldn't even fill a roster. One guy was going from goalie to midfield and midfield back to goalie, and they couldn't hardly keep up with the goals anymore because you see a field, they're just playing. It looks like a high school. You just see a soccer field when you're just kind of driving through not obviously in the middle of the day. You know what I mean? You're just kind of passing through the outer skirts of a town. You know what I'm saying? Not like, say, any big town you live in. There's obviously nicer complexes or obviously your high school. But, when you're passing and you see, fields of, soccer fields, and it's just a bunch of fields, and there's just a few of those little metal stands sitting on the side, and that's it. I mean, nothing. As in where, tournaments play, where kids play on the weekend, That's what this field looked like. They're not at a big prime